Good afternoon and welcome back to ETF Live. My name is Dave Nottig, Managing Director of ETF.com. So we had an interesting question today about whether or not the so-called FAANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, are going to get into banking or investment services. And I actually think this is a really interesting question. If you think about the future of investing, I think it's really going to come down to getting as much out of the way between the investor and the outcome that they expect. So for instance, right now, if I as an investor want to get exposure to, say, the S&P 500, I have a bunch of options, but at the core, I have to first establish an account with somebody. I can make a Schwab account or a Fidelity account, and then from there, I have to go buy something. I could buy a mutual fund, I could buy an ETF, maybe I could buy derivatives that are tracking the S&P 500. I suppose I could even go buy all of the individual stocks. But ultimately, all I care about as an investor is getting from point A to point B in my investing journey. And if I've decided I want to do that with the S&P 500, there are all those steps I have to go through in the middle. I think there's a real opportunity for somebody who already has customer brand, already knows something about me, imagine, say, Amazon, being able to get into this space. Now, how they do that, I think, is going to be really interesting, but I think it's going to be a big story really for the next 10 years. Now, the easiest way for somebody like an Amazon or a Google to get into the personal finance space overall would just be to partner. They could go to a major bank, a Wells Fargo, a Citibank, a JP Morgan Chase, and they could set up a deal where, my Amazon Prime membership maybe gets me a checking account or something like that. That's pretty uninteresting to me, but it may be the easiest first step. I think it's much more interesting if they really get into the space and they disintermediate some of these intermediaries along the way. What if instead of having to have a Schwab account and then go buy another thing, what if I could just put my money into an Amazon account and get direct access, sort of direct indexing into the S&P 500 or anybody else's intellectual property that might construct a portfolio for me? That's what the industry calls direct indexing. And right now, it's really the province of the very, very large investor who can establish a multi-million-dollar account and somebody will manage those individual securities for them. But at the end of the day, I still think this is just a software problem, and I don't know anybody better at the software problem than most of those FAANG stocks. Now, do I think that this is going to happen really fast? No. There's a reason that things move pretty slowly in the investment management business. There's regulatory issues, there's structural issues, and there's also just the issues of getting people comfortable with a new way of doing business. But I do think that ultimately this is the kind of solution that we'll see over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And I'm frankly really excited about it. I think it will continue to make costs come down. I think it will continue to make my investing experience more relevant for me as an investor. And I think all that's a good thing. Thanks for listening. I hope you join us again on ETF.com Live.